In the quiet, peaceful corners of the galaxy, humanity was considered weak. The great empires of space laughed at Earth, seeing it as just another insignificant planet, too small to make a difference. The alien races, each more powerful than the last, never imagined humans would pose any real threat. Earth had no great weapons, no advanced technology, nothing to show its worth. Yet, no one knew that, beneath the surface, humanity was hiding a secret, a power that, when unleashed, would change everything. The first signs of trouble came when the Exalar Empire, a race known for their brutal conquests, turned their eyes toward Earth. The Exalar were ancient, ruthless, and their technology was beyond anything humanity could dream of. They had destroyed countless civilizations, and now they set their sights on Earth. Their invasion was swift, and it seemed hopeless from the start. The humans had no defense against such an overwhelming force. Entire cities were wiped out in a matter of hours, and the rest of the world seemed ready to fall under the weight of the invasion. But even as the Exalar fleets descended from the sky, something unexpected was happening. In a hidden lab beneath the ruined cities, a small group of scientists, working in secret for years, activated a dormant power. This power was not from Earth. It was older than the Exalar themselves, buried deep within the planet, waiting for the right moment to awaken. It was a force that could bend time itself, at T first. No one knew what was happening. The first test was small. A soldier who had been critically injured was brought back to life. His wounds healed as if time itself had been rewound. The scientists couldn't believe it. They had only scratched the surface of the power, but what they discovered was far beyond their understanding. They quickly realized that this wasn't just about healing. It was about control over time, control over space, and ultimately, control over reality itself. As the Exalar continued their assault, humanity's last hope, the secret weapon, began to shift the tide. The humans, once helpless in the face of their enemies, suddenly became unpredictable. Soldiers who had fallen in battle reappeared unharmed, as though the war was being reversed. Ships that were destroyed reappeared in perfect condition. Entire cities that had been destroyed were restored. The Exalar didn't know how to fight something they couldn't understand. Each time they thought they had won, the humans simply came back stronger. The Exalar commanders were terrified. They had never faced an enemy that could turn back time, that could undo their victories with a single thought. The fear spread through their ranks, and for the first time, the mighty Exalar realized they were not in control. The humans had found a power they could not comprehend, and it was more dangerous than anything they had ever encountered. As the war continued, humanity's use of this power became more and more strategic. The humans didn't just use it to heal their soldiers or rebuild their cities, they used it to confuse their enemies. In the middle of battles, the flow of time would shift. One moment, an alien fleet would be closing in. The next, they were scattered and confused, as if the battle had never happened. Soldiers who thought they had won one moment found themselves fighting the same battle over and over again, unable to understand why they could never claim victory. The Exalar couldn't keep up. With every victory, humanity learned more about the power they had unlocked. They learned to harness it, to shape it into a weapon unlike any the universe had ever seen. Soon, it wasn't just about turning back time, it was about controlling the very flow of time. Humanity could slow it, speed it up, or even stop it entirely. And with this power, they started to hunt down the Exalar fleet, appearing out of nowhere, attacking when the enemies least expected it, and vanishing just as quickly, leaving nothing behind but confusion and fear. The Exalar, once the conquerors of the galaxy, were now on the run. They tried to escape, but wherever they went, humans followed. No matter how far they retreated, no matter how many battles they won, they were always one step behind. The universe that had once belonged to the Exalar was slipping from their grasp. Finally, the leader of the Exalar Empire, in a last desperate attempt to regain control, ordered a full-scale assault on Earth. They brought their most powerful fleet, their most advanced weapons, and their best soldiers. But when they arrived, they found nothing. The planet was silent. The ships floated in empty space, searching for an enemy that wasn't there. And then, in the blink of an eye, Earth's defenders appeared, humans, with their newfound powers, ready to finish the war. The Exaler realized too late that they had underestimated humanity. They thought they were just a weak species, a planet to conquer. But they had missed one crucial detail. Humanity had always had the ability to adapt, to fight, to survive. And now they had a power beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. The war ended not with a final battle, but with a simple truth. Humanity had become the most feared species in the universe, not because of their strength, but because they had unlocked a power that no one else could even dream of controlling. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The Kryn were one of the most feared races in the galaxy. They had conquered countless worlds, leaving only ruins in their wake. Their ships were massive, their weapons devastating, and their soldiers relentless. No species had ever been able to stand against them. But when they turned their eyes toward Earth, they made one grave mistake. They underestimated humanity. The Kryn fleet arrived in Earth's atmosphere with a thunderous roar, shaking the sky with their power. They had no interest in negotiation, no desire for diplomacy. Their mission was simple: wipe out humanity and take the planet's resources. Earth was just another conquest in their long history of destruction. At first, the humans had no idea what to do. Their cities were razed, their military forces overwhelmed. The Kryn attacked from the sky, bombarding Earth's largest cities with precision strikes. Humanity, despite their best efforts, could not stop them. The world watched in terror as the Kryn began to tighten their grip around Earth's neck, with no hope of salvation in sight. But what the Kryn didn't know was that Earth held a final secret, a secret so powerful it had been kept hidden for centuries. Deep within the mountains, far beneath the surface, a hidden facility lay dormant, untouched by time. It had been built long ago, a project started by humanity's greatest minds, but lost to history. It was never meant to be found. Yet, as the Kryn grew closer to total victory, it was finally activated. The facility, a massive underground complex, hummed to life. Inside, an ancient machine sprang into action. The machine was not just a weapon, it was a relic, an artifact from a time before humanity's recorded history. It had been designed to protect Earth from any threat, a safeguard that had been hidden away in case of an emergency. And now, that emergency had arrived. A team of human scientists, led by Dr. Elena Pierce, was the first to understand the power they had unlocked. The machine was not just a weapon, it was a robotic army, built to defend Earth from the most advanced threats. These robots, however, were unlike any others in the galaxy. They were not just machines, they were designed with a unique intelligence, capable of thinking, adapting, and learning. Each robot was equipped with advanced technology that allowed it to fight, repair, and improve itself. When the first wave of Kryn soldiers landed on Earth, the newly awakened robots made their move. As the Kryn advanced through the ruined cities, they were caught off guard. The robots attacked without warning, swiftly and silently. The Kryn, confident in their overwhelming strength, found themselves outmatched. The robots did not fight like ordinary soldiers. They fought with a precision and intelligence that the Kryn could not comprehend. They learned from each battle, adapting their tactics with every confrontation. At first, the Kryn were confused. Their weapons and tactics were useless against the robots. They tried to fight back with their advanced energy blasts, but the robots simply absorbed the energy and adapted. The Kryn tried to invade the robots' strongholds, only to find that each time they attacked, the robots had already moved, anticipating their every move. The Kryn were used to being the hunters, but now they were the hunted. With each passing day, the robots pushed the Kryn back. Humanity watched in awe as the once impervious invaders were driven from their cities. The robots, despite their incredible power, never attacked without purpose. They seemed to follow a plan, a strategy that led them to target the Kryn's weakest points. As the battle raged on, the Kryn began to realize that they were facing an enemy unlike any they had ever encountered. They were no longer the unstoppable force, they were the prey. Desperate, the Kryn sent their most powerful commanders to Earth, hoping to reclaim control of the planet. They came with a massive fleet, ready for one final strike. But when they arrived, they found that Earth had become a fortress. The robots had fortified the planet's defenses, and the Kryn were met with an unrelenting barrage. The Kryn's once mighty fleet was now a mere shadow of its former self. As the battle for Earth continued, the true nature of the robots' power was revealed. They were not just machines, they were the ultimate weapon, a perfect blend of human ingenuity and alien technology. They were capable of evolving, adapting, and improving with every battle. They could learn, anticipate, and predict. No matter what the Kryn threw at them, the robots were always one step ahead. In the final moments of the war, the Kryn were forced to retreat. Their fleet, battered and broken, fled into the depths of space, leaving Earth in peace. The robots, now the guardians of the planet, stood silent, their mission complete. The final secret of Earth had been revealed, and humanity had survived not by strength, but by the unexpected power of their hidden legacy. As the dust settled, and the world began to rebuild, humanity realized that the war had changed everything. The Kryn, once the most feared race in the galaxy, had been defeated by a secret that no one had seen coming. Earth was no longer just another planet. It was now a symbol of humanity's resilience, ingenuity, and the incredible power that lay hidden beneath the surface. The universe would never forget Earth's final secret, and neither would humanity. In the quietest corners of space, the galaxy's most powerful races ruled with an iron fist. The Torkin, a massive, violent empire, was one of these forces. They had conquered dozens of worlds, crushing everything in their path. Their weapons were deadly, their armies enormous. They never feared an enemy. But they had made one grave mistake when they decided to invade Earth. At first, no one knew Earth was at risk. The galaxy's most advanced species had no reason to believe humans were anything special. Earth was just another planet, stuck in a primitive era compared to the stars. But they had no idea what humanity was capable of. The first sign that something was wrong came when the Torkin fleet entered Earth's orbit. Humanity had never seen an invasion force like it. Massive ships, covered in weapons, hovered above the cities. People watched in fear, unsure of what to do. The Torkin didn't speak a word. They simply began to destroy, their weapons tearing through cities, their soldiers landing to wipe out humanity. Earth was being torn apart, and no one seemed to have a way to fight back. As the attacks intensified, something unexpected happened. In the midst of the chaos, certain humans began to feel. It started with a few individuals, a scientist here, a teacher there, who began experiencing strange bursts of energy. At first, they thought it was a side effect of the war. But soon, it became clear that something far greater was happening. People were developing abilities, powers that had never been seen before. The Torkin had expected humanity to crumble in the face of their assault. They thought they could easily wipe out the weak species. But they had never imagined that humans had something more powerful than their weapons, their minds. Slowly, humans began to fight back not with guns or ships, but with their thoughts. It started with small acts. A soldier, trapped under rubble, somehow managed to lift it with his mind. A group of civilians, terrified and trapped in a building, began to calm their fear, finding strength in their thoughts. Then, as the weeks passed, these abilities grew stronger. Humans began to develop telekinesis, the ability to move objects with nothing but their minds. Others could read thoughts. Others could communicate without speaking. The mind, once a fragile thing, was now an unstoppable force. The Torkin were not prepared for this. They'd always relied on strength, on their technology, but now they faced an enemy they couldn't understand. A soldier would lift his gun with his mind and turn it against his own commanders. Tanks and ships, once their greatest weapon, were suddenly useless as humans disabled them from afar. The Torkin tried to fight back, but their technology was no match for the power of human thought. As the Torkin retreated, the humans' powers only grew. They learned to control their minds, pushing the limits of what they could do. They could not only move things, but control the minds of others, bending them to their will. The battle for Earth became a battle of minds, and humanity was winning. In the final stages of the war, the Torkin decided to bring in their ultimate weapon, a psychic force stronger than any they had encountered. The Torkin leader, a being with immense psychic power, came to Earth to face the humans. This was it, the final battle. The humans gathered, their minds linked together, preparing to face their most powerful enemy. The battle between the two psychic forces was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Torcan leader struck first, sending waves of psychic energy crashing toward Earth. But the humans, united by their newfound power, fought back with equal force. The air crackled with energy, and the ground shook beneath them. For hours, the two forces clashed, sending shockwaves through the planet. The humans had no ships, no guns, no weapons, but they had something far more powerful. Their minds. As the battle reached its peak, the humans combined their powers into a single, focused attack. Their minds reached out, not to destroy, but to push, to overwhelm. Slowly, the Torcan leader began to falter. His psychic power, once unmatched, began to wane. And then, with one final push, the humans broke through. The Torcan leader fell, defeated by the strength of humanity's collective mind. With their leader's fall, the Torcan forces scattered, retreating into the stars. Earth had won, not with force, but with the power of the human mind. The Torcan, who had once been the galaxy's most feared conquerors, were now nothing more than a distant memory. But the victory came with a price. As the humans celebrated, they realized that their powers were not just a gift, they were a burden. Their minds were no longer just tools. They were weapons, dangerous and unpredictable. The war had ended, but the true battle for Earth had just begun. Humanity now had the power to shape the universe, but with that power came the responsibility of knowing how to control it. The galaxy would never see humans the same way again. They had become something new, something no one had expected. And as the stars shined above, one thing was clear: the rise of the human mind had changed everything. No one would ever dare underestimate them again. The invasion of Earth came like a storm, swift and violent. The Anuk, a race feared throughout the galaxy for their ruthlessness, had arrived. Their fleet, colossal and dark, blotted out the sun as it moved into Earth's orbit. No one on the planet had seen anything like it. Humanity's military forces were weak, their weapons outdated. The Anuk were the ultimate conquerors, and Earth was no match for them. When the first Anuk ships landed, it seemed like the end. Their soldiers, towering and armored, moved through the cities with deadly precision, tearing through human defenses as if they were made of paper. The world was thrown into chaos. Governments fell. Military forces were obliterated. People ran in fear, unable to comprehend the destruction that had begun. In the midst of this chaos, there was a single human hope: the resistance. Ordinary people, those who had survived the initial attacks, came together, forming underground groups to fight back. They had no weapons, no advanced technology. But they had something else: the will to survive, the will to fight for their planet. Among these survivors was a young woman named Sarah Klein. Once a scientist, now a leader in the resistance, Sarah had seen the destruction firsthand. She watched her city burn, her family disappear. But Sarah was different. She wasn't going to let Earth fall. She had discovered something during her years of research, something that had the potential to turn the tide in humanity's favor. But it was a secret hidden deep within the Earth itself. Sarah and a small team of rebels ventured to a secret underground facility, long abandoned and forgotten by time. It was a place that had been sealed off, its purpose lost to history. But Sarah believed it held the key to winning the war. After days of searching, they finally uncovered the entrance. Inside, the walls were lined with ancient technology that was far beyond anything humans had ever seen. Sarah felt a rush of excitement. She had found it. The war-changing secret was real. The discovery was a power source, an energy unlike anything on Earth. It was capable of powering machines, creating energy fields, and even altering the very fabric of reality itself. This was the power that could stop the Anuk. It was a force they had never encountered before, a weapon that could level the playing field. But as they powered up the machines, something went wrong. The energy was too powerful, and it began to destabilize. The resistance group barely escaped the facility with their lives, and the machines were left to continue their chaotic process. But as the power surged, it began to change something in the human DNA. The energy was altering them, giving them abilities they had never had before. Sarah was one of the first to notice the changes. At first, it was subtle. Her senses sharpened, her reflexes improved. Then, as the energy coursed through her veins, she realized something else: she could control the power. She could manipulate the energy itself, shaping it into weapons and shields with nothing but her mind. It wasn't just Sarah. The resistance fighters who had been exposed to the energy also found themselves developing strange abilities. Some could control metal, others could generate blasts of pure energy, and a few even began to manipulate time, bending moments to their will. As word of these new abilities spread, the resistance grew stronger. The Anuk, once unstoppable, began to face an enemy they could not comprehend. The humans, now empowered by the ancient energy, fought back in ways the Anuk had never seen. No longer were they helpless. The tide of the war was shifting. But the Anuk were not easy to defeat. They retaliated with everything they had, sending wave after wave of their soldiers. The sky was filled with battleships. The ground was scorched with energy blasts, and entire cities were reduced to rubble. Yet, every time they thought they had won, the humans returned stronger. The resistance had become an army, and the Anuk couldn't keep up. Sarah knew this wasn't just about fighting. It was about survival. She realized that the energy they had unleashed was both a gift and a curse. It made them powerful, but it also made them dangerous. The power could destroy not only their enemies, but also themselves, if they weren't careful. In the final stages of the war, Sarah led the resistance in one last desperate assault on the Anuk's command ship, the heart of their empire. The battle raged on, with both sides throwing everything they had at each other. The ground shook as the sky lit up with energy blasts, and the fate of Earth hung in the balance. But as the Anuk's flagship loomed above the battlefield, something strange happened. The power that had been flowing through Sarah and the other rebels reached its peak. They could feel it. Something deep inside them was awakening. With a single thought, Sarah focused all of the energy into one devastating strike. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a bomb. It was pure, focused energy, a force that could tear apart even the strongest of ships. The blast was like nothing anyone had ever seen. The Anuk's flagship was torn apart in an instant, its massive structure disintegrating into dust. The remaining Anuk forces were thrown into disarray. Without their leader, the empire crumbled. Earth had won. The war that had threatened to destroy everything had ended. But the victory came at a cost. The energy that had given them their powers also took a toll. The humans who had been exposed to it began to feel its effects. Some of them began to lose control, their powers becoming too much to handle. Others found themselves changed, their minds unable to process the new reality they had unlocked. Sarah knew that while they had won the war, the true challenge had only just begun: how to live with the power they had unleashed. The war had changed everything. The world would never be the same again. Earth was no longer a weak, forgotten planet. It had become a force to be reckoned with. The human race had proven its strength, its will to survive, and its ability to adapt. But the question remained: could they control the power that had saved them? Only time would tell. The galaxy had always known the Terrans to be weak, primitive, isolated, and scattered among their tiny world. When the invasion began, no one gave humanity a chance. The Exilar, a race of ruthless conquerors, had arrived, their ships massive and their armies unstoppable. They had crushed civilizations across the stars, and Earth seemed like just another stepping stone in their warpath. The Exilers' first move was to strike from orbit. They believed humanity would fall as easily as all the others. There was no need for diplomacy or mercy. Earth would be theirs within days. But what the Exilar didn't understand was that humanity, despite being weak in comparison to their technological power, had something the galaxy's other civilizations didn't: the element of surprise. As cities burned and the skies darkened with stellar ships, the humans, desperate and hopeless, began to fight back in a way no one could have anticipated. They became silent. It started in the forests of the Amazon. A group of rebels, made up of ordinary farmers and soldiers, had disappeared. One by one, they went into hiding, leaving only whispers in their wake. The Exilor, confident in their dominance, paid little attention. But then, things began to change. In the jungle, Xalar patrols started disappearing. Entire squads were found dead, with no trace of the attackers. No explosions, no footprints, no signs of battle. Just bodies, sprawled across the ground, lifeless. The Exilor were confused. They thought it was some sort of sabotage or enemy agents. But this wasn't sabotage. It was something much worse. The Hunters, as the rebels soon became known, had mastered the art of silence. They could move through the shadows, blending with the environment. Their weapons were nothing like the advanced technology of the Exilor. They were simple, homemade, but devastating in the right hands. They could kill without a sound, disappearing before the Xalar even realized what had happened. No trace, no trail, just death. Word spread among the humans. This was the way to fight back. The Hunters didn't rely on technology or brute force. They used the terrain, the environment, and their own instincts. They became part of the land, learning its rhythms, knowing its secrets. They could hide in plain sight, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. As more and more humans joined the cause, the Xalar began to panic. Their military forces, once confident and overwhelming, were now being picked off one by one. The Hunters were everywhere, in every corner of the planet. They struck at night when the Exilor were least prepared. They attacked supply lines, sabotaged their weapons, and took down entire squads without ever being seen. The Exilor commander, Commander Xylax, was furious. He had never faced an enemy like this. His forces were the strongest in the galaxy, yet they were being defeated by a group of simple, untrained humans. Xylax ordered his forces to search Earth, to hunt down every human and leave no one alive. But the Hunters were already one step ahead. In the dense mountains of the Himalayas, the Exilor sent a battalion to root out the resistance. They expected to find a few rebels, hiding in caves. But when they arrived, they were met with nothing but silence. The sky was still, the air was thick with tension. And then, out of nowhere, the Xalar began to fall. One by one, they were picked off, their bodies falling silently to the ground. The Hunters moved through the mountains like ghosts, leaving nothing behind but the dead. Xylax grew desperate. His forces, now scattered and confused, couldn't hold their ground. The silent Hunters were everywhere, striking without warning, leaving nothing but bodies in their wake. The Exilor began to question their own superiority. How could they, the conquerors of the galaxy, be defeated by a race so primitive, so weak? The turning point came when the Exilor, in their desperation, decided to strike directly at the heart of humanity. They gathered their largest fleet and began to descend on Earth's largest remaining city, New York. They would crush the humans in one final, decisive blow. The hunt would be over. But the Hunters had one final surprise. As the Exilor forces gathered for their attack, the humans, unseen and silent, took to the streets. They were everywhere. The people who had once been helpless civilians now became hunters themselves. No one knew where they had come from or how they moved so quietly through the chaos. They were like shadows, swift and deadly. When the Exilor fleet entered the atmosphere, they were met with resistance like never before. The silent Hunters had infiltrated their command ship. One by one, they took down the Exilor leaders, cutting off their communications and disabling their weapons. The Exilor were left disoriented, unable to coordinate their attack. And with a single coordinated strike, the humans brought down the Exilor flagship. The invasion was over. With their command structure shattered, the Exilor forces were forced to retreat. Earth had won. Not with advanced technology or overwhelming force, but with the quiet, relentless will of the silent Hunters. The humans had turned the tables on the galaxy's most fearsome invaders, and in doing so, they had changed everything. They had shown the galaxy that sometimes the greatest strength lies in silence, in the unseen forces that move in the shadows. The Xalar would never underestimate humanity again, and neither would anyone else.